Okay, we're back. This is Stats260. This is chapter 10 and 11. These were omitted because of the online test, so I'm going to still walk you through it just so you've got a little exposure to it in case you're watching this video. But don't worry about it. We're just going to kind of skim through 10 and 11 so you've seen it. So scatter plots, you probably already know about scatter plots. Scatter plots are when you graph ordered pairs. You collect data, you graph ordered pairs, put it on an XY chart. And so you get, that's called a scatter plot. That's the first blank, is a graph of ordered pairs. The correlation coefficient, that's referred to as R. And we talked about that a little bit for when we fit lines using we talked about correlation coefficient already when we were fitting lines for data, linear data, and using Excel to do it, remember? And so if the absolute value of R is equal to 1, the better it is, the closer it is to 1, the better it is. The closer it is to 0, the worse it is. So that means 1 or -1. The closer to 1 or the closer to -1 it is, it's good. It's good correlation. If it's really close to 0, it's bad. It's not a good prediction model. And so we already talked about this, I think, in the past. It's just revisiting it. So look, we've got 3 scatter plots. We've got one going this way. You got one going that way. And you got one that just goes bleh. And so this has a negative correlation. It's going down. When you look from left to right, it's going down. So it's got a negative slope. So it's got a negative correlation. This one has a positive correlation. It's going up. And this one's just a bunch of dots everywhere. That's no correlation. So you shouldn't really fit a line into that because it's clearly not linear. So the closer it is to 0, the worse. The closer it is to 1 or -1, the better. So all right, next page, they have T, you can find a T with it. And so this is where degrees of freedom are n-2 because you've got both X and Y working into your equation. And so if you look at that equation given, T is equal to R, the correlation coefficient, times the square root of n-2 over 1 minus R squared. Yeah, you don't have to worry about that. And so they talk about independent variables and dependent variables. So if you're driving fast, the faster you drive, that's miles per hour, that's independent. Braking distance is dependent. So how long it takes you to come to a complete stop changes with how fast you're going, but how fast you're going dictates, your braking distance. And so X would be the independent variable, Y would be the dependent variable. And if you put that data into Excel and ran it into a linear regression, it would kick that out, and the correlation would be 0.97. So that's very, very close to 1, which is a strong linear model. So is there a linear relationship? Yes. Redraw the scatter plot. We're not going to do that. Positive or negative? That would be positive. It's got a positive slope, so it's positive. Can braking distance accurately be predicted with miles per hour? Yes. What are some variables? Well, pavement type. Are you on gravel? Are you on, road? Is it raining? Are the roads wet? Is it slick? Was there oil spilled or something? How big is the car or truck? Compute the correlation coefficient. We did that already, 0.97. And is R significant at the 5% level? And there was another chart that you had that you looked it up on that. and R would have had to be greater than 0.811 to be significant at 5%, and 0.97 is greater than that. So the answer was yes for number 12. All right. Coefficient of determination, that's R squared. Again, you don't really have to worry about chapter 10 at all. All right, and then chapter 11 was the goodness of fit test. That's interesting. And we do use that occasionally to see if it fits, especially with the census. Ooh, make sure to fill out your census coming up. But they look at, there's data analysis using the chi-square goodness of fit test, meaning they look at what portion of the community is blank, 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 blank. It could be annual income, male or female. They can break all these things down, and then they can look and see, using the goodness of fit test, if people are not proportionally being treated the same, if you will. And so we got that's what that's all about. But again, you don't have to worry about that. And 11 actually wasn't on the regular test anyway. Yeah, but 10, there were a couple of questions on 10, but that's not going to make it onto your test for this semester. All right, so study for that last test, and have a good one.